So I recently returned from a month in Madison, Wisconsin, and stayed at a Dharma center while the resident teacher went to Plum Village in France. And shared some Dharma there, and that was a very interesting and helpful month for me. So I just wanted to share a few things about that experience. It was quite wonderful to be able to talk about subjects over a month period of time, and the result of that was to really understand and deepen my understanding of the subject. And what I shared about was the far-reaching attitude of ethical conduct. And through thinking about that subject and thinking about how I've been approaching it, I realized that I really mixed up a Western view of ethics into the Buddhist practice of ethical conduct. And that was very helpful to see. And when I think about ethics in the West here, it's primarily laws and obedience. And so the laws are either civil laws, like what the government sets down, or divine laws from the Creator. And you should be obeying those. And if you don't, you're either labeled a criminal or a sinner. And then that sets up this whole idea of being good or bad, right or wrong, and to get reward or punishment. And that is not at all Buddhist ethics. What makes Buddhist ethics Buddhist is simply to have the wisdom or the discernment to not harm. And of course the Buddha taught about different guidelines, different ways of acting that would bring either suffering or happiness, so virtuous actions or non-virtuous actions. But I think the important understanding for me was how these are guidelines that we really have to bring our discernment or our wisdom into each and every circumstance and see what is going to be helpful or what is going to be harmful. And every situation is different because of all of the causes and conditions that come into each circumstance. And by thinking about it that way and relating to it that way, then also it really uncovers one's motivation, which is, of course, so powerfully helpful. And if we mix Western ethics into our Buddhist practice, then at least for me, what has happened in the past, the recent past actually, is that my mind can get quite critical and judgmental and quite tight, either with my own actions or with others, and that is never helpful. That is never helpful. So to really keep track of how much I'm bringing, the Western view of ethics into my practice has been very helpful and really has affected then actually how I responded and related to people even in Madison. It slowed me down to really think about how I was going to respond or react to what was going on in front of me in a whole different way than in the past. So I found that a very helpful experience. And so I would just encourage everybody to look a little bit at their own idea of what ethics is, and to see if the Western view of ethics has spilled into our Buddhist practice of ethical conduct.